Chris, let's
Yeah.
hear about this month's launches in your out to launch section.
Yeah, quick roundup of what's going on in the world of space launches. First of all, from last month, you might remember, we had the launch of the first private mission to the space station, meaning no government astronauts. There was one experienced space flyer before, but he's now an employee of a private company, AXIOM. AXIOM is a company that wants to establish essentially space stations of their own that would be both for research and for tourism. And this is kind of a test of that. On April 8th, this group of 4 went up to the International Space Station aiming at 10 days on board, but they got an extended stay courtesy of bad weather in the splashdown zone. They ended up getting 17 days up there. They're back on terra firma now. I hope they've enjoyed their stay. Of course, they can't leave a little mint on your pillow at the end of the night because it would float off the pillow. But otherwise, I think they had a great time at the hotel. Talking about launches here, the Axiom 1 launch was occurring in the same month. In fact, only about 3 weeks before the next launch from the same launch pad, the same company launching the same type of spacecraft. This is the SpaceX Dragon. The NASA crew rotation mission, Crew 4, launched a very short time later. If you look at the dates there, April 27th, Crew 4 launched. This is a launch cadence from the same launch pad of piloted space missions with astronauts we haven't seen since 1965 in the Gemini program. So really impressive. We're really picking it up. The Crew 4 has arrived on the space station. You see them there meeting some of the Crew 3 and also some of the cosmonauts that were on board. Crew 3 didn't hang around for a long time. That's a lot of people to feed up there. Crew 3 has come back to Earth. In fact, last night they splashed down off of Florida and they are safely home. As far as other things going on, the Artemis moon rocket, we talked a lot about that. A lot of excitement for its first test with no astronauts flying to the moon. And I told you there was a chance we might have a flight in maybe June, something like that. Well, that's not going to happen. They did roll the giant vehicle out to the launch pad at Cape Canaveral. They performed tests. There were some small problems with it. The launch pad equipment itself had some problems. There were some small hydrogen leaks. That's going to need to get fixed. And also there was one valve that was misbehaving on the second stage of the SLS Space Launch System rocket. That'll need to be fixed too. They had been planning to take it back to the hangar. That was always in the plan, but the repairs will take a little longer than expected and should be maybe August. We could look for a launch to the moon. So that's fine. The other giant rocket, SpaceX's gigantic Starship rocket, even larger than the Space Launch System, they've been waiting for the Federal Aviation Administration to complete reviews of environmental impact and things like this for launching from South Texas, where SpaceX has their test facility. That has not been granted yet. Although there are reports they're getting close to finished with it. I should say we don't know if when the report is done, it will be an approval or a rejection. We will see. But SpaceX has been busily setting up a launch pad at Cape Canaveral in Florida, where we know those launches would be okay. So again, maybe in the summerish months, we may see a launch of this giant rocket. Hope so. We had an interesting thing attempted here. SpaceX is famous for reusing its rockets. Saves a lot of money. Other companies are beginning to experiment with that too. Rocket Lab, that launches out of primarily New Zealand, they have a smaller rocket called the Electron. It doesn't have enough fuel to do a powered landing after launching satellites. It's out of fuel. But they have an innovative system where they've decided to basically fall back to Earth. Just let the rocket come back down in a controlled way, then deploy a parachute. And the idea was to try to catch that parachute and bring the rocket to land it on a ship, dry, without ever having touched salt water, which is bad for electronics. Well, they gave it a try, and they were able to catch a rocket that had been launched to space, came back, they caught it. They ended up having to release it a few seconds later, though, because the behavior of the Electron rocket underneath the helicopter, they weren't entirely comfortable with it. They'll get that figured out on the next test. This was just a first test, and it went well. This is something other companies are looking at as well. The United Launch Alliance is getting on board with the reusability too. They've got an idea a few years down the road of maybe recovering the engine section only of their brand new VULCAN rocket. So look for all kinds of exciting things coming in the future on rocket reuse. The CAPSTONE mission, that's a small 55-pound satellite, a microsat, that they're going to launch. By the way, Rocket Lab again, the little Electron rocket's going to launch this to orbit the moon. This is a test flight to check out a complicated orbit that's never been flown before. NASA wants to see about maybe putting a space station with astronauts around the moon using that orbit. This will test it out. Launch has just been delayed to the next launch window. That starts May 27th. So sometime after that, we may see the launch of this interesting little mission to the moon. The Chinese are getting ready to send up a robotic resupply mission to their space station. There should be in June, there will be taikonauts, a group of 3, going up to the station. Right now, there's no one on the station, but the Chinese will be doing a lot more with their taikonauts going up there, and even some new modules on their station later in the year. And here's something blast from the past, the Boeing STARLINER spacecraft. This one, you may remember a while back, years ago now, they tried to fly it and it couldn't get to the space station because it had computer glitches. And then more recently, they put it out on launch pad. We're trying to get ready to do a redo. And there were valve problems. So they had to send it back to the shop and then back to the company to get work on it. Well, they're going to give it another try here. So we have got May 19th as the redo on Starliner. This is very important for Boeing. This really needs to work. And talking about anticipation, we've talked a lot about PSYCHE, and I'm really excited about that launch coming up August 1st. That's when you need to be watching for this. As you can see in the picture there on your left, the spacecraft has arrived at the Cape. They are assembling the rocket and putting it together. This is the big Falcon rocket. All 3 cores of a Falcon Heavy rocket, the most powerful rocket on Earth right now, aiming to send this spacecraft to PSYCHE. Launch will be August 1st. And that's it for the world of launches.
Well, that's pretty darn exciting. And I can't wait to see that Falcon Heavy go. It's amazing to watch those 3 cores come back and land. I'm curious, are they going to land any of them out on drones, drone ships, or are they all coming back to land? Do we know?
Well, the attempt will be made to recover the side boosters probably on land, but the core booster, the center booster, has so much energy at the end of its burn, they can't get that back to land. So that would be on a drone ship for sure, and then hopefully the other 2 on land. That's what I understand the plan to be.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Thank you. Well, another exciting month of launches.